Hello, this is Redwind,
And Honora.
and once again we're back with another advanced override tutorial. In the previous video we went over overheat, and
Which will still play a part in this video.
yes, and we did that first because it plays a part in pretty much every part of this game. But these first few videos are once again about maneuvering, and in this video we're going to be talking about Viewlock, weapon drops, and what we call camouflage, but it's more like disguising your movements, hiding what you're doing, even just in plain sight.
Call it camouflage because it sounds cool.
Yeah, it makes it sound better. We're once again going to play on Brazil, but we're playing as two different characters this time, kind of more our favorites.
Yeah, they are still average characters like Shifu and Watchbot. We're just trying to give a little bit more of a variety of viewpoints so anybody who's not as familiar with all the characters can see how they're similar and how some of them are different. So that was a weird jump to like very low height. Anyways,
we're starting off this video talking about Viewlock, and we did mention it in the past video. You know, you toggle it on and off with R3, and it's really helpful when you're fighting someone, because if I have it off and I'm trying to punch him, when I start charging one of these hands, I mean, how in the world am I going to hit him? Like, I'm just not ever going to. And if I charge my kick, I cannot turn my body. The only way I'm ever going to turn is if I put Viewlock on, and then I just follow him. So it's so much easier. So when you're fighting someone in melee, Viewlock all the way. I mean, there's no other option.
and if at all possible, at range. If you're actually attempting to fight someone at range, like let's say this Uzi, all the one-handed weapons can Viewlock, okay? So if I choose, like, I'm going to shoot about half of his ammo with Viewlock on, it doesn't deal very much damage, right? But it's going to deal so much less if I'm like having to aim around and try and hit him, and if I'm trying to throw it and I don't have Viewlock on, I'm never going to hit him. So yeah, at range too, if possible, you can't Viewlock with some of the ranged items.
Now, the problem with Viewlock is all of your attention is on that person, and you don't see weapons that are dropping behind you, and that person will see them because they're looking at you. They will dash towards you with Viewlock on, using only half of their overheat. They will dash past you, and they will grab weapons or, you know, really good drops that you just didn't see.
Even though they were closer to you and you should have gotten them.
Yes, so having Viewlock off at all times possible is important, but the problem is you want to make sure you know where they are, because if you have it off, you could just turn and they could be right there with like a sword, and you would be like, oh crap, you didn't know they were there. So having it on is also important, but I'd say the best way to deal with this is looking around at item drops, going back to where they previously were and tapping it just to see where they're going, what they're looking at, what they're doing. Kind of like I'm doing now, like I'm looking at this weapon, but I'm looking back at him every now and then. Okay, that's a terrible weapon, so I don't care about that. So I'm coming back up here because it's a good position, Viewlocking on him to wait and see what he does. It's like...
And I found an amazing weapon. So it's kind of... You can see the red lines falling from the sky in this blue one, which is always in the middle on this map. But the red line that falls from the sky indicates a weapon drop or an item drop. They're not always technically weapons. And it'll either be a melee weapon, ranged weapon, throwable weapon, consumable, whatever. And you always want to be the person who gets first dibs on the weapon drop, because pretty much no matter what it was, no matter what the item is, it's probably better than having nothing. There are a couple exceptions in certain circumstances, but really, if you get the item, even if it's one you don't want, you can just drop it immediately and run away. But you didn't run the risk of the other person getting a good item instead of you. And a big item, like the one that I have right now, if you look at, like, this is a game changer. The blue sword here, the one that I have, don't know what it's called yet, haven't been able to find it in the game, but look at the amount of damage that it does.
And we play with double the amount of damage. The amount of health.
To make the games longer. Like, compared to my punch, like the punch does this much damage, and the sword does about triple that. I mean, this is a game-changing item. And if you
of course, I got two good swords.
Yeah, sure. But if you give up items like this to the other player and you don't manage to find any yourself, then I mean you don't really have a whole lot of opportunity to actually win, because you're fighting an uphill fight of your own choosing. So that's really important for the weapon drops. It's also important to note that let's start picking up, dropping a bunch of weapons, get us another drop here. It's also important to note that what are you doing?
I figured out that you can consistently charge your arms if you have weapons in your hands.
Oh, cool.
Sorry.
You can't hold charge on your arms if you aren't, for example. So let's see. Stand in the path of a falling object.
Yeah, I've been trying to find one. Basically, whenever you see one of those red beams coming from the ground, you don't want to be standing in it or even moving through it when it lands, because it will knock you over. Just like if someone had punched you, it does damage, it knocks you over, and you'll have to spring up from the ground. I don't think you're gonna get to that one.
Let's see.
And it's also the same for this blue circle in the middle, which we will talk about.
Here's one. When it comes down, he'll get
does a
knocked
lot of
over.
damage.
It does a ton of damage.
I didn't even realize it did that much. That's crazy.
So, yeah, it does a lot of damage. You always want to be aware of the item drops, and the problem is you get tunnel vision if you're looking at only at your opponent, the way I am right now. But if I'm not trying to go in on him and I look around, scan around me for a good item, I might see something that I like and I can know what I need to do right afterwards. And then next is the camouflage, and I think we accidentally destroyed a lot of the buildings, but
Yeah,
stop throwing that stuff.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
come stand
I was trying to
stand
get
down
rid
here
of
on the other side of these tall buildings.
Alrighty.
Buildings are a great way to like on the ground. Buildings are a
Like
great
right
way, but don't crush them.
No,
Okay.
getting on the other side.
So, buildings are a great way to disguise what you're doing. So, if you have any action like the one I'm about to use here, no, don't do that.
Well, I mean,
Well, okay, sure.
it's
yeah,
a
that's
fine
fine.
example. of
Yeah,
the
I
heat.
can't see. If you look at my screen, I can't see what he's doing.
Now we're in the same room, so he would just see it on my screen and hear it from the soundbar. But if you're playing with someone online, you don't see their screen. You would have no idea they're doing this until it just shoots through and hits you. So
And so then a lot of people have an option sort of like this. Step a little bit closer, just to me up here. Like I have this dash through. I can just come through and hit him. He has no way of knowing that that's what I'm doing until it actually hits him. And even without using a power, if you come up with a punch and he was close enough, then I could have just dashed straight through the building and he would have had nothing. Nothing he could have done to stop my punch from landing.
you can do it with charged punches too, because you can move forward and hit. But I would say that disguising what you're doing is primarily used for powers. It's just the powers do the most, but there's always some sort of a delay with your powers. And so the goal of camouflaging what you're doing is to try and get the other person to notice, or rather not notice, that you're charging a power until it's too late. You know, so it's obvious that I'm charging this, and it gives him time to shield and just block it.
Oh yeah. So I was getting these stuff.
Yeah, that's fine. So I mean, if I did that, just
And
nothing.
all I take is overheat, and that drains down.
Yeah, and so, you know, trying to hide that I'm doing that is extremely important.
Another good way to disguise what you're doing is by dashing with a punch. It's pretty easy to tell on my character that I'm doing this, but some other characters is a lot harder. For example, Contessa, it can be pretty hard to tell when Contessa's doing it. Pescado, because he kind of rolls along the ground. And Raka, because he actually spreads his arms in a punch formation when he dashes regularly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to tell when people like them are doing said actions while dashing. And that's pretty much all that that you can do to camouflage what you're doing.
Well, actually, one thing I just thought about, haven't really put much thought into this, but if you didn't if Honora didn't just watch me grab that grenade, or I guess this is a flashbang, it's in my hand, but he probably wouldn't be able to tell, just because, I mean, of the way my hands are shaped. If he wasn't looking specifically for that, he's not really going to tell. Which is nice, because when he's got Viewlock on and everything, he might not even see me throw it sometimes. He probably would, but he might not be able to do anything about it. So camouflaging is actually great for throwables, which I didn't actually think about that before this video, but we actually do that quite a bit. There's many times that you don't see someone pick up a grenade or even throw it. So it's...
Yeah, they're very unassuming items.
Yeah.
So...
Especially since most of the time they don't hit, but when they do, they can do a lot.
Yep. And was there anything else? I think that's it. So,
I am fairly certain that that is it. The next video that we do is going to be about 3D movement and stuff like sprinting and jumping and flying.
Then we'll also talk about this little power zone that he's standing in right here.
Yeah.
For anybody that is unfamiliar with it, it's probably looks pretty intriguing. It's a big factor on this map, but not so much on some other maps. So, well, until next time, we'll see you guys later.
I've been Redwind.
And I've been Honora.